Before we begin, 3 messages. Here's a riddle. How do you build native cross-platform mobile applications quickly without having to rewrite code and hire consultants at a huge cost? Titanium from Appcelerator. Called the easy button for mobile application development, it allows you to focus more on what's important, getting product out the door. Join the more than 1.5 million active developers who have created over 13,000 apps at www.appcelerator.com. So, you've taken some of the advice that has come from Untethered.tv guests, built an app, and now you're turning your attention to generating some hard-earned revenue. Then you should be looking at Pontiflex App Leads. Some of your peers who are using App Leads are earning CPMs 100 times the industry average. And if you need any other reasons to start, I'll give you 2 more. You can run sign-up ads from top brands, the ones that you recognize, and it won't take your precious users out of your app. Go to appleads.com, that's appleads.com, to sign up. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Hello everybody! Welcome to Untitled.tv. My name is Rob Woodbridge, your host. We take you down this path where we interview mobile rock stars and we find out how they've grown their business, what makes them tick, what industry that they are in, and why they're in those industries, and then hopefully extract a little bit of information so that you can take it back and do the things that you need to do in your company. And take it back to October, a session I did mid-October of 2010 with Boris Bogatin, who is the founder or co-founder and CEO of Nearverse, which is a company that has created a product called LoKast. And if you go back to that episode, it's worthwhile going back to that episode. Boris is New York based, and there's such a massive amount of activity going on in New York City around the mobile space. And it's very much in the communications realm, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But I asked Boris in October why he got into this business, which is, we'll get into that, why he got into his business. And his response was very clearly, look, I don't know if there's a market here yet. I have a massive hunch about this market, and I'm going to do what great entrepreneurs do, which is go into that market and explore it and find where the opportunities lie. 6 or 7 months later, this market has materialized faster than anybody could ever have imagined. Companies are coming out of the woodwork. It's a small industry unto itself inside of mobile, and Nearverse and LoKast were there first. So I'm really excited about welcoming Boris back to see what he's been up to. And they've just released version 3 of LoKast, and it is incredible. He's described it as kind of all the other products on steroids. And that's what you kind of get to with LoKast. So Boris, welcome back to Untethered, man. It's really great to have you back. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. Thanks a lot for having us back. You know, it's been a great journey as always, and startup world is one of these places where it takes a lot of kind of balancing pieces to make the equation work. One is you got to have hunches, you have to have bets, you have to be a thought leader and go on a limb and have people tell you that you're crazy and you're stupid and tell them that they don't see it yet, but they will in the future. And it's really exciting to see kind of that materialize over the years. It's very rewarding to do that. But we're here to build the future. That's one of the things. The other thing is to be very nimble and flexible. One of the things that we've learned here in Nearverse, we've been a slightly different company a couple times, and that's okay as much as as much as that carries certain stigmas around with it. But I think that there's no way to do this righter. And one of the proving points to that really is, the massive amounts of money that Color has recently just raised. And, a lot of people are saying, well, this is an absurd amount of money. And what do you need it for and so on. But Color's CEO, Bill Wynn, he's made a reputation by taking something and being able to shift very quickly and shift around a lot and be able to hit the target at the end always because he's shifting and he's adapting is very malleable, and I think that's I praise them for that. I think that's a very important quality for them. But we've definitely been doing that, and we're really excited because when we talked in October, we were a different company as what we had in the market. But the story that we were telling, the story that you and I discussed, was exactly the story that we were after, and we just we had to align some of the pieces to get there. But we're now here and LoKast in the market. So let me spend a couple minutes, maybe actually backdropping, tell you guys about LoKast. So basically, LoKast allows you to basically instantly social network, to instantly connect with people that are in your physical locations. The use case of it is just that you're there at a social gathering, whether it be a birthday party, a barbecue, a networking event, a bar, a concert, a football stadium. And you're now able to instantly connect with the people there. And when I say connect, you're able to message as fast or faster, actually, than many of the messengers in the market. If you look at the kind of the messaging kind of space out in iPhone. But you're able to connect with people around you that you don't have addresses of. It's not about a phone number that you're connecting through. You're connecting through their physical relevance to you. But you're able to talk to them. You're able to alert them that you're talking to them. You're able to, on top of all that, share as much rich media as you want. We're talking about photos, videos, music links, web links, contacts. I mean, basically anything you have access to. People have come up and said, well, I want to share YouTube links all day long. Go ahead. Share YouTube links with the 5 people in the room with you. Someone said, I want to be able to have my presentation be visible to the people that I'm, talking about the presentation to. Great. Put a presentation up and have everyone be able to view it right from the mobile, right, just because they're right next to you. And the neat thing about LoKast is it lets you fully control your privacy layer. You can talk completely privately, one-on-one with people that are right next to you, or you can create these spaces and make them, kind of public or private or invite only. And these spaces are basically kind of like group messaging forums that you set up, except with a big except over top that they're anchored to a location. They're anchored not just to a location, but to your proximity. So, today in LoKast, if you open up the app, you can instantly talk to other people, like I mentioned. You can also create a space, call it, My Spot. And My Spot will show up exactly where you're standing. And then any other person that's there will see My Spot, and they can jump right into My Spot. And so you're able to organize a social network right where you are within a matter of, 20 seconds, just by telling people, oh, yeah, just turn on LoKast and jump into My Spot. And so, this is the building blocks of where we see and what we see as the future of proximity internet. We're probably in, beginning of inning 1 with this product. We have a full roadmap that probably takes us out 5 years or so. Of course, I believe it should be done in 6 months. My engineers tend to argue a little bit.
There's a little bit of pushback from that, I'm sure.
Yeah. But this is the first elemental building block. We want to see, the way we describe the market opportunity, this is kind of the second piece of it, is that, we as humanity, have been social networking not for 10 years. We've been social networking for 10,000 years. It's been the very fabric of our mankind and humankind for a while. And reality is physical social networking is done in a very intricate way today. We organize to go to places. We communicate there in small groups and big groups. We know when to scream and when to not scream. And we have this full kind of breadth of social controls in physical places, how to keep things private, how to be public, who we talk to, how we talk to them. And today it's all very landlocked to physical. And physical is really good. We want to enhance it. We never want to replace that, of course.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I've heard is if I'm in a room with a bunch of people, why should I be looking down at my device, and why shouldn't I be talking to the person next to me anyways? And so this is not meant as a replacement for going up and shaking somebody's hand.
That's right. No, it's absolutely not. And think about that kind of interaction set. So you're talking to people in a room, right? And let's talk about a small set. So you guys are all talking together, but swapping contacts, sharing photos, sharing videos, referencing YouTube links, so media-oriented activity is still very hard.
Yes.
And so in those small settings, it's more about media than it is about some of the other things I'll talk about in a second. The other thing that is still important is memorization. So you guys talk about something that's interesting. You want to remember that. It was a quote someone said or whatever else it is. You can instantly pop it in, and the 5 of you have it in your own spot. That's very important. And of course, it prolongs. You have memories. In a bigger setting, things start to change a little bit, and this is where it gets interesting. You have a party of 20 people in your room. You're not going to be all talking as 20 people. Impossible. Because there will be too many people screaming over too many people. So we naturally break off into our little subgroups. We have 3 here, 4 here, 5 here. And as the venue gets bigger, we break off more. When you walk into a nightclub in New York today, you see a nightclub filled with 500 people, and that's kind of your social network that as a 25-year-old guy or girl, you're going to be kind of socializing with. But you naturally go and you get a table, you get some bottles on the table, or you carve out another spot, and that's your kind of home base. And that's where your 5 to 10 to 20 friends hang out. And as you rotate through the night, that kind of builds up. So in all settings, we see social networks as fragmented. We see them as the space overall where you're generally spending time. But then we see these subspaces, these private spaces, that are also reflective of your natural kind of habitat, where you are able to talk directly with people. And so as that kind of builds up, we want to see all of those as individual spaces on LoKast. As that builds up, what you're able to do now with LoKast is, you're able to bridge that communication. So if you're at that same 20-person party that we talked about in your house, now if someone says something interesting in your little subgroup, the whole place gets to hear it, not just your little subgroup. Mm-hmm. So now it's not just about memorization, it's about announcing. And announcing becomes very important. It's about presenting, too. You go into these places and you have some interesting things to say, always. And how do you establish that thought leadership today? Again, it's by circulating through the crowd. It's by telling everyone about, your niece's bat mitzvah that you just had, And it's about doing that repetitively across the people, except, that's imperfect. Today we've learned that, there's much better tools. And so, LoKast gives you that. It gives you that instant thought leadership announcement platform. The same thing that we get from Twitter, from a perspective of it's such a powerful way of communicating with large audiences. You now have a micro Twitter, a micro social net in every place you go to with the physical people you're in. We think it's incredibly powerful, the basic building block.
So, when we talked about this in the fall, I think a lot of this was there. But what's happened over the last 6 months has been pretty incredible since we last talked. You mentioned color. Color as a photo sharing, it's much greater than that. But as a photo sharing application for simplification here, it's a platform, a social platform. They raised $40+ million. There's been other companies, all of South by Southwest this year was like the group messaging South by Southwest with Group.me, with Yobongo, with a bunch of other ones, with Kik, KIK, not QIK, but that's right. Quick, but KIK, Kik. All of these companies came out of this, and you guys were in there beavering away. How has this landscape changed since we talked in October?
Yeah. No, it's a very good question. It's definitely evolving pretty fast, and it's going to continue evolving fast because people are starting to kind of get a clearer sense on some of these elements. I think, it makes sense to break up the markets a little bit because they are a little bit different. Today, I'd say that of the 2 spaces that you mentioned, there's 2 discrete spaces there. There's one space which is a proximity internet space. Yep. There's one space which is a group messenger space, and there is some overlap that is companies like me.
Yeah. So Color is a basically a proximity internet play, right?
Yeah.
And Yobongo would be the same thing, but in a messaging system, wouldn't they?
Well, that's right. So they're a bridge. So today, if you look at LoKast and you look at Yobongo, you definitely see kind of a very close correlation. Yep. We think obviously we take it, much further and
beyond texting, beyond messaging. Yeah.
But it's that's exactly right. So I think Yobongo is clearly focused on a space that we think is very important.
Yep.
And it's interesting. A lot of the other group guys, when group messengers launched in fall of last year, when GroupMe got all the buzz about their round of financing, a lot of my investors. I pinged them and said, listen, this is a very important trend for us to watch because we're going to be coming out with LoKast 3.0, and it's going to look like this, like it does now, and group messaging is going to be a very essential component just because it's communication. It's not messaging. Yeah. It's social networking. Social networking is the basic fabric of us as humans. So you can't really say that this is a segment and you're chasing a segment. It's like Facebook today. It's not a segment. It's the internet.
Yeah, pretty much. You're right.
And so, but it's interesting because back then a lot of my investors were like, is this a completely different space? Like, what are you guys doing playing in it and so on? And I'm like, no. We were first to it. We launched in March 2010 around this space, disposable social networking. It was group social networking. It's just that the execution wasn't quite there. of course, we kind of perfected that with March. But anyway, so the group messenger guys are creeping into a location because they're noticing that a lot of group activity happens when you're in location with folks. So you see GroupMe kind of tweeting out about their time at Bonnaroo right now, and and that's right. And so they're all focused on the right kind of.
So how much has that influenced how, over the last 6 months, or since we last spoke, really in 2011, it's been the group messaging or the proximity internet, the start of the proximity internet or disposable social messaging. How has that influenced what you're doing with LoKast, and how do you fit into this now?
Well, it makes us want to go faster.
Yeah, of course. But I don't think that there is a slow with you, Boris, so
I
don't get the sense.
No. The influence here is that, when we look at the proximity folks and then we look at the group folks, we know that the market is focusing in. Our story that we started pitching 2 years ago on really a lot of deaf ears in the VC community, which is interesting, is now the story. It's this story, and we picked it right, which is really cool. I think it helps me because it helps validate what we've been doing. We've never feared competition. We've welcomed it because it helps us be faster and it helps us be leaner. So I think the influence for me is to discard things that are really not what we need to do, not focal for us, and really focus on our focus. A lot of people are like, well, if you have this messaging platform, shouldn't you be more than just proximity messaging? And today we are, in the sense that anyone you meet on LoKast now you can talk to forever. So I basically replaced my messengers with LoKast at this point, as far as all the folks that I ever talk to. But we will continue to focus all of our development frame and all of the feature sets and all of the marketing framework toward proximity. And we think that there's a combination of both marketing that's going to be a winning proposition here, or a losing proposition for others. That's really important because you just can't market in proximity the same way you market normally. It's a completely different beast, And so I don't think anyone that's not focused on it properly is going to be able to make a dent. And Color is probably the only company in the market that's picking this up because they're quick movers. And they didn't pick it up on March 30th, and I wrote a big piece about that. And they're adjusting very well, which is good for them. And at the same time, the second side is feature sets and technology. What we released with the social networking capability of LoKast today is the baseline. That's what we believe are table stakes. The future, the broader vision that we have and that we'll be enabling is this notion of proximity internet, and that's what will also differentiate. When you walk into a Fenway Park today, it's a huge social network, right, all around a baseball game. And today, the way we kind of look at it and skinny it is that, today, if we look at social networking, we look at Facebook, and it's, starting to be a big money maker, or a bigger one than before, but, and it averages about $4 per each of their users per year. That's its total make. And we look at Fenway Park, and you walk into Fenway Park, and it's, X number of tens of thousands of people, and the really neat thing is that there's $120 that Fenway Park makes off of every user every day. So the numbers are astronomically different, first of all. Second of all, when you walk into this game, you want to socialize with the people that are there. But socializing is the baseline. This is how you kind of just absorb things. The second thing you want to do is you want to watch instant replays. The third thing you want to do is you want to interact with the Jumbotron and be part of contests and promotions. The fourth thing that you want to do is order a beer to come right to your seat so you don't have to get up. The fifth thing that you want to do is you want to buy, a jersey of your favorite player. The sixth thing that you want to do is you want to get a collage of photos and videos and kind of remember the night, and so on and so forth. And the neat thing about it is that every physical space has a lot of that built up differently. And we've noticed that, and we've worked long and hard about whether we go vertical or horizontal and how we position. But our strategy with LoKast is to be able to be horizontally addressing the football stadium, the bar, nightclub, your living room, classroom, networking seminar. So what you'll see from us going forward is a platform that actually works more malleably than you see it right now. It's social messaging is going to be at the core of it, but you'll see a lot more internet in it than you do today.
So let me ask you this. So when we talked in the fall, You had I think we talked about the development cycle that you were on, and you launched at the end of May version 3 of LoKast. What was that? What was that 6-month development cycle like for you guys? Did you? I mean, was there a vision at the beginning, or did you kind of let it evolve as things happen in the industry?
Well, we always evolve. So, staying nimble is part of the equation.
Sure.
And, good guys like Beluga came to market, and they presented a lot of thought leadership, which was really good. So we evolved and adjusted. And certainly GroupMe and other messengers have done a good job. And Ubongo has done a little bit of that, which is good as well. And, look, we benchmark daily, and we're very quick to incorporate and adopt any learnings. But I'd say that, what we're doing right now has been there for 9 months as a baseline, exactly to this point. Like, we wanted to do what we really but how it is instantiated, where are the buttons, how does it look, how does user behavior process through it, what are things that work and don't, those things that we've definitely kind of, kept it arranged.
Well, so how many people, it's interesting because you've got an established clientele, they're using the product. Do you go out and engage with them to find out what the services that they're interested in? Or are you still going on that hunch that says, you know what, this is really, as you said, about an extension to socializing, which is what you do every day, what we do every day, what we've been doing since humans actually, could bump fists or drag knuckles or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, how much of it was the way that you saw the industry going and putting that into LoKast, and how much was it of bringing it into, feedback in from the customer base?
Well, we I think, coming back to the hunch, we've gotten a lot of feedback for 2 years now from customers about this. I think the hunch was projecting on things that, are just really hard to understand if you don't touch the right product, versus what you have. So, like today, for instance, coming to a nightclub or a bar and explaining to them the power of a social network inside their bar and their ability to monetize that social network twice better if they use the product like LoKast. Yeah. Today, it still is something that seems intriguing, but they don't necessarily know how to run it, how to work it.
Sure.
And it's natural because human behavior kind of adjustments, but it's also one of these things that, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. That bar is a social network. They make money. Everyone makes money today on social media by putting in promotions inside of social media, and it actually works. And that bar is completely captive audience. All they're doing is being there, drinking at the bar. So, it doesn't take a lot of convincing to say, okay, people will drink more probably, or do something else more because they're there. And so, I think it's a combination of just people not quite understanding the tools that we have yet, and then on the other hand, understanding what they want to do physically, and then kind of working from there, because the behaviors that we're doing in some ways are not revolutionary.
No,
they're actually just replaced. The other day I walked into a gaming developers conference in San Francisco, and there was 200-300 gamers out there, and I was going to chat with a bunch of developers about LoKast. And at the same time, I see Coca-Cola's NOS, the new energy drink that they're pushing. And, they have a full table. They have a full cloth and tapestry around the NOS. They have a full bucket of ice with NOS drinks inside of it that's decorated as NOS. They have 3 Flair staff there that are, beautiful girls and guys that are running around pitching NOS. And at the end of the day, this is exactly what's happening. There's a social network of gamers, and there's a bunch of NOS people pitching NOS.
Yeah.
And so, so in some ways, the hunch is more educated than it sounds maybe in some cases. But yeah, we're doing a lot of user feedback. We continue to do it. We do it with partners as far as talking to people about like what they think about our product, where they think it's useful, where they think it's not yet, etc. We talk a lot about users. We just finished up a usability group, and the good thing is that people generally, overall like the product, which is hard on the first kind of release, and this is kind of a completely new product for us. But the nice thing is that we're also getting feedback as far as what are some of the things that would be helpful for the user, how to differentiate things, how to interpret things, what other things to share. So we'll be working that in.
So, I mean, how hard was it, or was it hard? Was it difficult to make that transition from what you guys were, leading up to this, to version 3 and into version 3? I mean, was it, what was the challenge there? In getting everybody behind this and letting go of what you were into building into what you have become?
Well, there's a couple. I mean, I think, you have it across the ecosystem because there's a lot of touch points. On the development side, obviously you just have to keep steering with your development team. Mm-hmm. And we definitely did that big time. Now, we were fortunate because we had someone join us. My VP of engineering joined about end of November, and he's had a lot of experience with exactly this type of a system. So he was able to bring a lot of thought leadership that was really helpful. And so there's development impacts. There's definitely a big market impact. And that market impact comes from investors that want to see, stability. They also want to see kind of progress along a certain path. At the end of the day, jumping around is good, but they also want to see progress. Yeah. And so, that's always a managed process. But I think it's marketing. I think it's about people labeling you a certain thing and deciding that you are a music app or something else app, and having to kind of re-educate the market a little bit. And this is one of the advantages and the perils. We have a brand that people understand and recognize to some extent now, but how they recognize and understand it is a little different than we'd like them to. So we have to go through the exercise. And, I think companies do that. I use a good example of a company, Cool Iris. I think they've completely rebranded their they completely redone their product, mm-hmm. From what they used to be to what they are now. And they, they've been successful because it's a good product. But it is a lot of market education because it's like Cool Iris. Oh, yeah, the guys that did this. No. They're competing with color. They're in this photo sharing thing in locations. Oh, okay, interesting. So that's the other piece.
So how do you combat that, or how do you slowly change that perception? Because you got a lot of coverage with your first version. You've had some pretty high profile guys with you. You've had some good investors. How do you change that perception of what LoKast is in the general community?
Well, I think the important thing is that we've been thought leaders in proximity internet, unwavering on proximity internet.
Yep.
Since we were born.
Yeah.
Our company's name is called Nearverse for a reason. And LoKast is the word that's picked for a reason. And so mm-hmm. I think there is a market understanding that we are guys that understand this proximity space. And so when you tell them that you're not in the music sharing, music link sharing thing, but with kind of like random people, and it's this other thing, but it's now the messenger thing, they still kind of associate it with proximity, which is good.
Yep.
So that labeling hasn't changed, and that continues to propel you in the right direction. Because, we're still getting covered on the old app, believe it or not. I see articles pop up on the old app. I'm like, guys, the world has changed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's, but the nice thing is that, it's an adjustment. It's not a wholesale change. So, I think the management of it at the end of the day is just how much time you're going to spend it. And there's no other way, smart people say for a reason that consumer brand is very expensive to build. It takes about $1 billion, give or take, to build it properly. And, it's unfortunately, I understand that very well now. I understand
it's just very clear.
And for me, as a startup entrepreneur that has limited resources right now in the process of, scaling the company, just means, more hours and more reach outs by me. But, I've led my life that way, so it's exciting.
No, so I got two questions left. One of them is around funding. So you've raised about $1 million, I think, is what I've read around angel investment and seed stage funding. Are you going out looking for more? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, and we raised a little bit more than that. That has been kind of out of the press. So yeah, we're going out to do a real round right now. So we think that this product is what kind of gets us into that next category. So yeah, we're out raising money right now.
Okay. And obviously, New York is a great place to do this. I think anywhere in the United States is a great place to do this. I think anywhere around the world, when you're in the space that you guys are in, is of interest to VCs because there's a big bet right now on a lot of these companies. And
that's right. That's right.
Certainly that. So I want you to put on your little. You said earlier on you've got a 5-year plan, right? So 5 years to me is an incredible amount of time because I don't believe that people can predict what's going to happen. That far ahead. But and so I'm not going to ask you to. I'm not going to say paint me a vision in 5 years because I'll just replay this video every year and we might have a laugh about it, or it might be true. But you're clearly, like, you had a hunch a couple of years ago when you started this company. You followed through on that hunch. Something has materialized in this industry, in the mobile industry, around this. How do you see this shaken out? Not in terms of companies, but what does this look like in the coming 6 months or 9 months? And do humans adopt this as a formal way of communication, like they did with SMS or MMS? What does it look like?
Well, I mean, I think we're betting the company on that point. So we definitely believe that that's happening.
Well, if you said, no, this isn't going to work, you probably wouldn't be very successful in raising money.
No, I mean, let me answer that question a little differently.
Sure.
We believe that proximity internet is 10 times the size of the actual internet. That's a bold claim, but that's what we believe, and we believe that we're first movers in it. We want to drive as much value in that market and carve it for ourselves as possible. So we're working across all the facets of it, and we think it's going to be a huge, big market. I think the best way for me to frame up, besides what I already did, kind of in a very futuristic way, but the right way to think about in 5 years, is that we as humans have this amazing fascination with magic. Yep. Harry Potter.
Yep.
Has been commanding the screens and our ears and eyes for the last 7 years or 10 years, decade, right? And you kind of step back and you say, why is that such a big deal? What is our fascination with that? Because we have internet, like you can search for anything you want in the world and get it within a second now on Google. Yet magic is still what draws us to be fascinated by, right? And the reality is that physical world is very important to us. The ability to interact with our physical world is really important to us. But our tools today are very limited. And our mobile phone, for lack of a better word, is a magic wand in the physical world. It's exactly that. And so we are bringing magic to the physical world. It's happening. It's happening right now. And people will be all over it.
Well, on that is that we talked about it, there's a lot of competitive companies out there. It's scrambling now. None are dominant. None are owning the market. None have hundreds of millions of users like a Facebook. But you start to see how important this space is to companies like Apple and companies like Google. So Apple announced their iMessaging system, and Google just recently announced their. I think it's a rumor, but it probably makes sense. Is that they're getting into the messaging system as well. So this is obviously a big enough play that with these guys getting involved, does that buoy you or does that worry you?
No, it doesn't as much. I think the messaging space, the one-to-one messaging space, I think it's something that those guys can control reasonably well.
Yeah.
Because Google with Gmail already does that on email side.
Sure.
Natural shift for them to do. So, I think we're not too worried about kind of losing some of those battles. Again, we want to focus on proximity 100%. Okay. We believe that the way that they're going about it, that will help proximity. That's still, it's still not the right thing for proximity. It's proximity, and this is where marketing comes into a huge play. It always worries you when platform guys are around, and they always are. When Facebook started, there was Google, and there was other guys. When Google started, there were other guys before them. And so, I don't think, we live every day based on what we know and what we're building, and we don't worry too much about the big players. If they want to come and play, let them come and play.
Well, yeah, and I think that what they're ultimately going to be doing is something that that's going to happen, which is impacting SMS more than anything else around group texting or group messaging. Right?
That's right.
So when I'm going to have you back on in 6 months, because I think this is great to be able to figure out, as this company evolves. I love it because it just goes to show that there's you have to be nimble as an entrepreneur and as a small company in this space, because you're building things that you're building things on a foundation that is a little bit shaky right now, simply because it's wayfinding as your product building, which is a really great combination. I love it. And as the industry evolves, so must your product, and it's clear that what you guys are doing is evolving this. So this is available now on iOS.
Yeah.
What about other platforms?
Yeah, Android's going to be the next platform that we'll be releasing. That we're working on that now very aggressively. Yeah, side by side with, of course, improving iOS. So that's the goods and the bads of releasing the first product. You got to know.
Yeah.
More. So no, other platforms very important. iPhone is an important platform because of usage and because of the feedback that you get off of it and all the other good things. So we have to do it first. But yeah, Android's forthcoming, and we've been working very closely around Qualcomm's technology called AllJoin, and that cooperation is very fruitful. We're talking to a number of folks in the carrier OEM ecosystem, and there's a lot of excitement around what we're offering, which is good. That's more of a sidebar, but I think Android is kind of the next critical piece, and then beyond that, we certainly want to not ignore the Windows platform or the BlackBerry platforms that are out in the market. Certainly, still bellwethers and so in their specific senses, and so we may do some bridging to those platforms through some other approaches that are more kind of standard across them. But we're figuring that out a little bit right now. So
yeah, resource dependent, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so people can find you at LoKast.com, LoKast.com.
That's it.
Or just do a search on the App Store for LoKast.
That's it, or simple way, which is a little hard on the web, but bit.ly / LoKast app, LoKast app. But yeah, we're on the store. It's LoKast, and everyone should hop on. The one thing I want to encourage the viewers of the program, when they do use the LoKast app, make sure to use it with a few others that are there with them.
Yeah.
If you use it by yourself, of course, you don't get a whole lot of use of it because it's community focused. But if you use it with 3 to 4 or 5 others, 10 others, you get this amazing realization about communication that you just, you naturally experience for that first time you do that. So
good advice, yeah.
Right,
so if you're alone in your basement, wait till you're around people. And if you're never around people, probably not the right application, anyways, to use, right?
That's about right. That's about right.
You don't need to download an app to socialize with your family, right? I think is the well, maybe it'll work if you have 10 people.
Yeah.
So head to LoKast.com, do a search for it in the App Store, or go to bit.ly/LoKast app and download it and play around with it, but do it with a number of people.
That's right.
All right, Boris. I love this. I love the evolution of what you guys are doing. I love the industry. I love the fact that we can have this conversation 6 months later, and the hunch 6 months ago, or the hunch 2 years ago, that translated into the previous version of LoKast, has translated well into version 3, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen with the next version that's coming out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Rob. Thanks a lot for having me on the show, and look forward to doing another one in 6 months, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely, or sooner. It depends on how quickly you can get these products out.
That's right.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you guys for watching or listening wherever you are. This has been another episode of Untethered.tv. Catch you next time.
See ya. Bye.